Hey everyone, James here again. Let's be honest, when somebody dies, it's really hard for us to let them go. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who will take advantage of our grief to try to make money or make a name for themselves. That's happening right now in music, and I want to talk about it. So to tell you what's happening right now, we have to go back. On December 8th, 2019, Juice WRLD, the popular rapper from Chicago, died. Now, many of you probably already know this, but if you don't, he passed away from a suspected drug overdose after he was stopped by authorities returning from California on a private jet at Chicago's Midway Airport. It was the kind of story that took the world by storm. Juice WRLD has only been in the public eye for a couple of years, but his presence has been impossible to miss. His music has already influenced an entire new generation of rappers and singers who are not afraid to blur genres and really put themselves out there in a way that is emotionally vulnerable, yet still catchy and able to be played on the radio. What he did, in short, was really impressive, and the fact that he's gone so soon really sent shockwaves through the music industry. Now, when this happens, and unfortunately it has happened several times in recent years, there's always an outcry. There's always this demand from fans for more. I mean, after all, we spent less than half a decade receiving music from Juice WRLD, and though he had a very high volume of output, there's always going to be people who wish that they had more. The same thing happened when Mac Miller died unexpectedly a few years back. People are just waiting and waiting for that next release, that next single, because for a while, there's a point where you could always count on Juice WRLD to put out new music every few months, and fans are going to miss that. Fans want that to continue happening, but unfortunately, he's gone, and it would make sense that that stops as well. But then something weird happened. Starting at the end of January 2020, a new artist appeared on streaming platforms going by the name No Vanity. Now, this is important, because Juice WRLD had a tattoo on his arm that said No Vanity, and the first release from the artist was titled Still Here. If we look at the artwork for the release, which you can see up here, it looks an awful lot like the artwork for the first Juice WRLD record, which you can also see right here. Now, if we put them side by side, you'll notice that there are a lot of distinguishing features. There's the car, there's the artwork style, there's the presence of this person. We can't really make out their identity. It looks a lot like Juice WRLD, and I bet you wouldn't be surprised to hear that it also sounds a lot like Juice WRLD. I mean, it's so close to sounding like a Juice WRLD single that you would have to be a perfect copycat in order to duplicate it any better. I mean, it is unmistakably the sound of Juice WRLD, and fans are understandably confused. If you head over to any of the Juice WRLD platforms or look at the people speaking on Juice WRLD's behalf from his team, nobody has made mention of this release, and there's been no official announcement about it being a thing. But here we have this artist, No Vanity, who is on Spotify, who is on YouTube, who is on all these platforms with a bunch of songs that sound like Juice WRLD songs. And so fans started to wonder, could Juice WRLD be alive? Is Juice WRLD going by a different name now, but he faked his death so that he could get out of the industry? A lot of those rumors were sparked in part by this tweet from 2017 where Juice WRLD talked about how he was going to get really, really famous and then fake his death, which would be not unlike what people think happened to Tupac back in the 90s. But let's stop right there, because I do not want to promote this idea that Juice WRLD is still out there. He is gone. He is deceased. He is dead. He died on December 8th, 2019, and he is not somewhere on an island or in a mansion releasing music under a pseudonym that is also very similar to something he did in the past. That's not what's happening. And I can understand why you would want that, especially if you're a fan, you like the idea that your heroes live on and that they're still out there making the soundtrack to your life, but that's not what's happening. And the reality of the situation is actually pretty depressing and a little upsetting. Now, I am basing this entirely off of the fact that I have watched as this channel has evolved. The No Vanity name on Spotify had a lot of releases when it first went up at the beginning of January, but many of those releases have since been pulled down, and the same has happened on other platforms as well. In fact, if you just go to YouTube and search for No Vanity Still Here, you will only find 1 or 2 tracks in the search results. You actually have to dig to find all the other songs that are out there, and the reason for this is because the person releasing this music is not Juice WRLD, and by all accounts is not owned by somebody who is in Juice WRLD's universe. No, what's happening right now with the name No Vanity is that a fan somewhere in the world is profiting off of unreleased Juice WRLD material. Now, this has been mentioned by several fans who pointed out that some of the songs posted were leaked demos that appeared earlier in 2019. And if you look at the Reddit page for Juice WRLD, you'll see fans talking about how there's no way that this is not Juice WRLD making this music. And that's because this is Juice WRLD music. These are unreleased tracks from Juice WRLD, some of them probably unfinished or at least not completely mixed and mastered. And they're out there in the world because somebody has chosen to take it upon themselves to release them. Now, on the one hand, there's a Robin Hood-like quality to that. If fans want this material, why shouldn't they have it? But at the same time, do you really want somebody somewhere in the world to be profiting off of the fact that Juice WRLD is dead and gone? Because that's what's happening. For the over 2 million streams that the songs currently have on Spotify, somebody is cashing a check, and it is not somebody in Juice WRLD's immediate family or team or label. They are not involved in this release at all, and therefore they're not seeing any of the money. And because the songs aren't copyrighted, they're incredibly hard to pull down. Now, based on the fact that some of the songs have started to disappear, I'm going to say that copyrights are in place and that action is being taken. But do not believe any of the lies that tell you that No Vanity is Juice WRLD in disguise, because that's not what's happening. And it's not what has happened in any other instance when this has occurred. Anytime an artist dies, especially in the world of rap, there is a ton of unreleased material, and fans love to get it out there. They like to pretend that they're the person after they're gone, or just that they're doing it out of some goodwill. But if they're appearing on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube, then somebody is making money off of the fact that this artist has died, and that just rubs me the wrong way. And with all this in mind, I do want to leave you with an educational note, because that's what we love to do here at Music Biz. We like to learn from things that are happening in the industry. So my message to you this week is this. As an artist, you're going to release a lot of content, and there's going to be even more content that never sees the light of day. There are going to be demos, there might even be studio tracks that you ultimately cut, don't use, don't make the fit, whatever it happens to be. You need to have a plan for what happens to all that material when you're gone. Because as much as we all like to think that we're going to live to an old age and we're going to see death coming from a mile away, that is not always the case. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes we're here one minute and gone the next. And you need to understand that that is entirely a possibility for your own life. So right now, decide, what do you want to happen to your material when you're gone? Who do you want to own your masters? Who do you want to control what happens to your catalog? These are decisions you should make so that when that day comes, especially if it happens unexpectedly in the very near future, somebody can make a statement, somebody can make action, somebody can tell fans and people who care about you what to expect. Because what's happening right now with Juice WRLD's material, it's all over the place. There are these conspiracy theories. Fans have this false sense of hope that he could still be alive or that he might one day return. And that's only going to prolong the grieving period. It's only going to hurt them more in the long run. And that's not including the fact that somebody is making money off his music that is not his family or his team or his label or anyone that actually worked and cared about him. And that's all just bad. So right now, take a few minutes and ask yourself, if something were to happen to me tomorrow, what do I want to happen to my music? What do I want my legacy to be? If there's unreleased material, who gets it? What do I want them to do with it? Who has control of all of this when I'm gone? These are decisions that we don't like to think about. We don't like to talk about death in our society, and I mean that on a global scale, but we need to, because these things happen, and if you don't make plans, it's a headache and heartache for everyone. And I really hope that you enjoyed this rather unorthodox episode of Music Biz. I know it was a little strange, but after seeing the No Vanity stuff over the last few days, I had to talk about it, I had to speak on it, and I really feel like we need to, demystify death. We need to make it something that we can talk about, especially as it relates to our lives and our careers, and as creative people, our bodies of work, because there is so much that we want to share with the world, but you want to make sure that it's shared on your terms. But before I let you go, I do want to ask that you please take a second and click that subscribe button down below. I know that it's a little weird, especially in a video about death, but honestly, this channel is only possible with your support. So if you have the ability, please take a few moments and click that button below. And if you're not quite ready yet, if you don't want to commit, I completely understand. We may have just met each other today, but again, my name is James. It's nice to meet you. I hope you stick around, leave a comment below, we can interact. So at the very, very least, take care of yourself, because you deserve it.